Hello everyone. Thank you for watching my presentation. My name is Gabi Bentin. I'm a member of the academic staff at Shumei University. Apart from general English, I teach about foreign language education and intercultural understanding and communication. Today I'm going to talk about qualifications, after-school activities and education, a German perspective. To begin with, let me introduce myself in a little bit more detail. I was born in Germany and immigrated to Australia when I was a child. I completed the first 6 years of schooling in Germany, but the remainder of my secondary and tertiary education was completed in Australia. I came to Japan as an ALT in 1999, and during this time I taught at a primary school and a secondary school. I've been working in tertiary education since 2005. As part of my intercultural understanding class, I often show a TED talk by Pellegrino Riccardo. He is of Italian and British background and lives in Norway. As a German-born Australian who now lives in Japan, many of his comments resonate with me. Pellegrino Riccardo defines culture as a system of behavior that helps us act in an accepted or familiar way. The keywords are accepted or familiar. People usually do what is accepted and often what is expected in their social groups, and thus is familiar to everyone within this group. This recently got me thinking about what was accepted and familiar to me in Germany as a child, and thus this presentation took shape. As we go through this presentation, you may think sometimes, what? That is strange. This means something I've said is not familiar to you. At the same time, I encourage you to think of your own experiences and make some comparisons about similarities and differences as we go through this presentation. First of all, a little bit about education in Germany. School attendance is compulsory from age 6 to 15. Kindergarten is provided for all children, but it is optional. As each of the 16 individual states, Länder, decides its own educational policy, there is some variation across the states. In other words, there's not actually a national curriculum. Primary education is usually from year 1 to 4, except for in 2 of the 16 states. Parents can also choose a special school or inclusive school for their child if special educational needs, or SEN, are required. Secondary education is divided into lower secondary level and upper secondary level. At the lower secondary level, lessons or subjects are of a general nature and promote general knowledge and act as preparation for the upper secondary level. The purpose of the upper secondary level is to get university entrance qualification or a vocational qualification. One thing about German schools that's very different is that there's not just one type. So primary school is year 1 to 4, and then lower secondary begins in year 5. And this is split into different kinds of schools, as you can see from the slide. So altogether, there are 5 different types of school. So in other words, secondary school can be completed by year 9, year 10, or 12 and 13, depending on where you want to go, whether vocational training or a training and apprenticeship, or whether you would like to go to university. So what was accepted and familiar to me until I was 12? Well, I went to school in the city-state of Hamburg. This is the Hamburg crest. And I attended a kindergarten and started school when I was 6. I attended a primary school called Schule am Redder. The school still exists today, but has grown substantially since I attended it. The first day of school is very special for German children. We receive a big Schultüte, made of felt-covered cardboard or plastic, which contains lots of useful things for our school life, and sometimes snacks and small toys. This makes the first day of schooling a little bit less traumatic and more enjoyable. So here's a picture of a Schultüte. As you can see, it's very big. Before the first day of school, parents and children go out to buy things like a pencil case and school bag. So the reason why I mention this is because the school bag is called a Schulranzen. And this is similar to the Japanese word Ransel or Ransel, which is in fact taken from Dutch. The shape is similar to the Japanese one, but there are many variations on color and design. And they're not always leather, they can be any other material as well. The pencil case has a lot of pens and equipment, and the students are expected to get good care of it. So this is a German pencil case. As you can see, there are lots of colored pen and colored pencils, and everything is in order, and everything has got a place for it. And this is this German school bag. So again, very colorful, lots of different, not designs, but certainly colors. Okay, the school day in Germany. So probably here you might be surprised as well. So the school day is usually from 7:45 until 13:15 or 1:15. There are 6 classes in this time, and there are 2 small breaks, one of 15 minutes and another one of 20 minutes. The school sometimes provides milk, or you can have a snack during these breaks. The students go home for the main meal of the day. This is called Mittagessen in German, and then do the homework or other activities. However, these days, more mothers are working full-time, so many schools offer all-day supervision, which means that students will eat lunch at school and then do homework and other activities at school as well. When I was a student in Germany, I went home. After I finished primary school, I began attending the first 2 years of lower secondary school at a gymnasium school called observation stage. The purpose of this observation stage is to ascertain whether the students are capable of good academic work and then whether they can then formally enter the gymnasium. If in year 5 and 6 your school results are not so good, you might have to change schools. So in other words, a child's secondary schooling path is decided when they're 10 years old. As a teacher of languages, I'm of course interested in foreign language education. In my time, foreign language education began in year 5 of secondary school. If I had stayed in Germany, I would have started my second foreign language in year 7 and my third foreign language in year 9. However, since 2011, all children in Hamburg learn English from year 1 of primary school. So year 1 and year 2 has English classes once a week, and year 3 and year 4 have English classes 3 times a week. A second foreign language is now introduced in year 5, followed by a third foreign language in year 8 and a few more after that. Usually there are between 3 to 6 classes per language per week. When I was in Germany, I usually went to school by bicycle. In fact, this was a 3.5 kilometer ride to the gymnasium and a 1.7 kilometer ride to the primary school. I recently looked at the school and the path I took on Google Maps, and I was really surprised at really how short a distance it was. I sometimes rode with my sister or friends, and sometimes alone. One interesting thing is that we didn't need to wear a helmet, and in fact, helmets still aren't compulsory in Germany. But we did need a white front light, a red back light, and a loud-sounding bell. On some occasions, school was cancelled because there was heavy snow. So you're probably asking yourself, well, if classes finish at 1:15, what do students do in the afternoons? First of all, they do homework. And the concept of homework is outlined in a 4-page document at my old primary school. So homework actually consists of 4 parts. First of all, conversation between parent and child, which means that parents should ask children about any correspondence from school and to see if their child would like to talk about the school day. It also includes preparation for the next school day. So the children are encouraged to check the bags and the pencil case to see whether everything is shipshape. Of course, the normal homework idea is also there. So the completion of set tasks, for example, reports or presentations, and also practice and revision. After homework, there are many things that students can do. In my case, I went to swimming lessons, horse riding lessons, I had piano lessons, and of course I also spent time with my friends. After eating a big lunch, after all it's the main meal, first of all I'll do homework and then do something else. So these activities, well, piano lessons were at home, so that was easy. But for horse riding and for swimming, we had to go to a club, which was 8 kilometers and 10 kilometers away. And we sometimes went by bicycle, or in case of swimming, we had to go by bus and take a train as well. In Germany, qualifications are quite important. And these qualifications are called Leistungsabzeichen. They're divided into different levels and can be obtained in a number of disciplines, including music and sport. I work towards swimming and horse riding qualifications. In Germany, in order to get these qualifications, you actually need to join a club, which is affiliated with this association. So I was a member of a swimming club and a horse riding club. The first qualifications I obtained were the swimming ones. So you can see the emblems up the top here. There were 4 different ones, starting with the seahorse qualification. Then there was bronze, silver, and gold. The interesting thing about these is that each time you get one, you actually sew it onto your swimsuit. And you feel so proud about it. And people working at the pool could also see my proficiency level. So what does it mean to get, for example, a gold qualification? What could I do? So if you look at this first one here, this is the seahorse qualification. So it says jump from the edge of a pool and swim 25 meters. Retrieve an object from shoulder deep water. Knowledge of basic swimming rules. So it's a practical and theoretical qualification. Then bronze becomes more detailed. So you needed to swim for 15 minutes. And you needed to dive and get a small object from 2 meter deep water. You also need to do a tuck jump. Silver, this time you had to swim for 20 minutes. And you had to do similar things. And another thing that was added was to swim underwater for 10 meters. But you were allowed to push off, so it wasn't so difficult. Also added is a jump from 3 meters or 2 different jumps from 1 meter. As well as, again, knowledge of basic swimming rules and self-rescue. For gold, there were quite a lot of things you had to do. So first of all, we had to swim for 30 minutes. And 800 meters of that needed to be in a swimming style on the stomach or on the back, and 150 meters in another stroke. Then there was yet another tuck jump, as well as a block start, and block start of 50 meters breaststroke in under 1 minute and 15 seconds. 50 meters of backstroke. This time we had to swim underwater for 10 meters without a push-off. And I remember this to be very challenging. Again, there are jumps from 3 meters or 2 different jumps from 1 meter. Then we had to get 3 objects in 2 meter deep water, but we had a time limit. and there was a 50-meter rescue swim where we had to push or pull an object. And the theoretical part this time included knowledge of basic swimming rules and rescue for self and others. Not just for swimming, but also for boating or ice accidents. So you can see it's quite a comprehensive qualification. I also obtained a horse riding qualification. So this is what it looked like when I got it, but since 2014 it has now changed and is a slightly different design. Again, to get this qualification, you needed to do a practical test as well as a theoretical test. And the practical test included dressage and jumping. So from clubs to professionals and Olympians, in Germany, certainly sporting clubs have nothing to do with school life. It is something that you do afterwards. So the clubs foster children's skills and encourage them to achieve qualifications like the ones I just showed you, and also to enter competitions. And of course, talented children may become the athletes of the future. So the clubs are certainly there to build talent among the junior athletes. So what does all of this tell us? Well, when I was 12, our family immigrated to Australia. All that was accepted and familiar to me suddenly changed. For immigrant children, fitting in is important. We observe and then we usually try and adjust to what is acceptable and familiar in the mainstream culture. So of course I had an accent, which was difficult to change very quickly. But things like my pencil case and school bag, which were so different from what the Australian children had, soon changed. So I wanted to be like everyone else. For lessons in the pool, I wanted a new pair of swimmers because the Australian children looked at my qualifications and thought, what's this? So we needed to change a little bit. Needless to say, the same process took place again when I started living in Japan. However, the older you get, the more difficult it is to adapt and be flexible. Yet I think that my experience as an immigrant when I was a child helped me to adjust to life in yet another culture. On a final note, culture is what is accepted and familiar to us. However, culture is also dynamic. Aspects of the Germany of my childhood may well be rather unfamiliar to a 12-year-old child today. I am also aware of changes when I visit Germany or Australia after spending time in Japan. We not only need to be flexible when encountering another culture, but also realize that changes occur over time in our own culture. The movement of people across cultures is increasing. Tourists, workers, students, immigrants, refugees. This means we need curiosity, empathy, and understanding, knowledge and flexibility more than ever in this global world. Thank you for listening.
Hello. Today I'm going to talk about English literature, mostly its heroines and opera. Have you ever had a chance to see an opera? If you have, which one? If you haven't, how do you imagine an opera? Let us look at the components of opera. Put very simply, opera is an art form consisting of three components: literature, music, and performance. The first component is literature. There are several genres in this art form: play, drama, poem, and novel. The next component is music. It can be vocal or instrumental, or both. There's one thing in common with literature. They were originally written, composed on sheets of paper. The third component of opera is performance. We need singers and musicians to perform an opera. We also need a conductor of the orchestra, and in some cases, dancers as well. What is so special about opera singers? What is the main difference between opera singers and other types of singers? For example, musical singers. Opera singers do not use microphones. They only use their vocal cords. Their whole body becomes a musical instrument. The culmination of the artistic singing can be seen and heard in what we call mad scenes in opera. A mad scene in opera is an enactment of insanity. It was a popular convention of Italian and French opera in the early decades of the 19th century. Mad scenes were often created as a way to offer star singers a chance to show off their abilities. The vocal writing is often exciting and highly demanding, requiring immense skill. Most mad scenes were composed for the soprano voice. Here's the list of the 19th century operas, which include highly popular mad scenes. As you can see, all the characters who go insane at some point are female. Imogen, Anna, Lucia, Elvira, Maria, Linda, Lady Macbeth, Dinorah, and Ophelia. Are you familiar with any of these? What is so interesting about these heroines is the fact that most of them are English by birth. Anna is originally Anne Boleyn, who was the second queen to Henry VIII, who founded the Anglican Church. So this Anna is a historical figure. What about the others? Lady Macbeth is the wife of Macbeth, the protagonist of Shakespeare's famous tragedy. Ophelia is originally Ophelia in Hamlet, the most silenced heroine of all in Shakespeare's plays. Let us now turn to the lesser-known English heroines. Imogen is originally Imogen from Charles Maturin's play, Bertram. Elvira and Lucia are originally Edith and Lucy from Walter Scott's novels, Old Mortality and The Bride of Lammermoor, respectively. These novels are hardly read nowadays, but these operas are still quite popular. Especially, Lucia de Lammermoor is one of the most famous and popular operas in the world, and is performed frequently. Let us look at two of these mad heroines in more detail. First, Shakespeare's Ophelia. She goes insane because of the abandonment by her lover, Prince Hamlet of Denmark, and his consequent murder of her father, Polonius. In Shakespeare's original play, Ophelia appears absent-mindedly and sings. The actress who plays Ophelia might actually sing some songs on stage, but in most cases, these songs are simple ballad-like ones, more like a melodious monologue. By contrast, the French composer Ambroise Thomas wrote a spectacular song, aria, for his Ophelia. In this song, in this aria, Ophelia expresses her deepest feelings, indeed her extreme emotions. Let us listen to a little bit of this aria. Remember, this aria was written by a male composer who imagined Ophelia's sufferings as such. And it is the soprano singer, in this case, Nathalie Dessay, the French singer, who enacted that insanity with brilliant vocal techniques. Let us now turn to the other English mad heroine, Lucy. In fact, she's Scottish, but as the novel was written in the English language, she might be broadly regarded as English. Lucy is a young lady who is forced into marriage. She is made to believe that her lover has been lost forever. On the night of this cruel wedding, Lucy loses her head and stabs her odious husband, and wanders about the castle wearing a blood-stained wedding dress. In the opera, Lucia in Italian, has been given a 20 minutes mad scene in which she alone sings, imagines, and dreams. Again, this was sung by Nathalie Dessay in French in this version. What did you think of her performance? In the world of literature, these mad heroines are, in a way, silent. Their words are written on pages, but we need our imagination to hear their inner voices. By contrast, in the world of opera, especially in these mad scenes, we can actually hear their imagined voices. I will now introduce a message from Nathalie Dessay about these mad heroines. The madness of romantic heroines like Lucia, Elvira, Leonora, and Ophelia is always caused by a profound feeling of abandonment, betrayal, disappointed love. But for all of them, madness is a result of suffering that can only completely find an outlet in a parallel world to that of reason. The real world having become intolerable, there's only one way out for them. Escape into an imaginary, more kindly world where everything is perhaps as it was before, or even better still, as it was in the days when they were happy because they were loved and protected. For me, these descents into madness often seem like alterations between moments of intense suffering and the desire to be in another place where everything might yet be possible. If you have already read these works of English literature, the portrayal of these heroines in opera might not match your ideas of them. In which case, you can go back to the original text and try to hear their voices with a new perspective. If you experience the opera first, You might want to know the original English stories behind these French or Italian operas. Fortunately, we have a wide variety of translations of Shakespeare's plays. As for the works of Scott and Maturin, I'm afraid you have to read the original text. Please come to my office if you are interested. Lastly, here are some more works of English literature which have been adapted into operas. Works like Robinson Crusoe and Pamela must be quite familiar if you are third-year students of English at this university. For those of you who are totally new to these works, there's plenty of time. Let us enjoy exploring the world of English literature and opera together. Thank you for watching.